An apple a day does not keep the doctor away, or in this case, the hantavirus. So, what should we know about the hantavirus? Well, before I let her talk, all I know is that it's really messing with the stock market right now, as there's been a lot of selling, at least as of this recording. So, let's just get right into it.
In fact, a family of viruses that are carried by rodents. So people typically get infected by breathing in dust that has been contaminated with mouse or rat droppings.
New York better watch out, because there's a lot of rats over in New York City, which means there's a lot of rat droppings. Mamdani, you better be on your A game, because this might define your whole mayorship in New York.
Urine or saliva. And most infections are happening when somebody disturbs a rodent contaminated space. So it might be cleaning out a shed or sweeping in the basement, opening a building that's been closed for a while. In the US, the severe form is called Hantavirus cardiopulmonary syndrome. So cardio, the heart, pulmonary, the lungs. It starts with fever, headache, and muscle aches, but then can rapidly progress to severe breathing problems and shock. And then depending on exactly which hantavirus, between 12 and 45% of people who develop that severe form go on to die. But I think it's really important to emphasize that this is exceedingly rare. In the United States, we've had less than 900 cases over the past 30 years. And globally, there are an estimated 200 to 300,000 infections a year, most of which are milder forms seen in Europe and Asia.
But that's kind of crazy though, right? Because the general consensus right now is that apparently this form of hantavirus has a 40% mortality rate. So if there's been 200, 300,000 cases, even if they're milder, but not a whole lot has come from it, I don't know, man. Seems kind of sus to me.
Let's say that the WHO does confirm a human-to-human transmission. Does that, I know that can be rare, it does happen with hantavirus, but would that potentially indicate that this virus is shifting or mutating in some way?
So we know that there is one form of hantavirus, Andes virus, which circulates in Argentina and Chile, that has been documented to spread person to person. No other hantavirus does this, but this one does. We have evidence going back to the late 90s showing evidence of person-to-person transmission. So it's quite rare, but with this particular form of hantavirus, it is possible. But I do think it's important that people understand that this still requires very close, prolonged contact. It's very different still from viruses that can become pandemics like COVID or flu, which can be transmitted much more easily through the airborne respiratory route.
Support journalism you trust.
I'm surprised she didn't mention dealing with Pizza Rat. I'm sure if you mess with Pizza Rat in the New York City subways, they're going to get you with the hantavirus. So beware, New Yorkers, beware.
This morning, officials are racing to contain the deadly hantavirus outbreak that has killed 3 people. Several states, including Arizona, Georgia, and California, monitoring cruise ship passengers for possible infections. Teams in protective gear transporting 3 patients to emergency flights.
Arizona, where are they coming from? I mean, I understand that Arizona's full of retirees, but I guess they're coming in through the LA docks and then they fly or drive back to Arizona. That's kind of crazy if you ask me.
Bound for Amsterdam. This as contact tracing has started on anyone who may have been exposed to sick patients earlier in the trip who disembarked at different locations. One such traveler was removed from a KLM flight in Johannesburg a day before her death. KLM saying due to the passenger's medical condition at the time, the crew decided not to allow the passenger to travel on the flight. 88 of those passengers from that flight now being tracked by the World Health Organization after possibly being exposed.
That the U.S. exited, by the way, earlier this year.
And the WHO says a Swiss man who had returned home with his wife tested positive for hantavirus on Wednesday. He remains hospitalized. There are now 11 suspected cases of hantavirus infection from that ship, 5 testing positive in a lab. Hantavirus is a respiratory infection with no treatment and can kill up to 40% of those infected. The World Health Organization says testing so far identified the rare Andes strain, which can spread from person to person.
Bam, and that goes against what the lady said in the last video, not to be concerned about the person-to-person transmission. But if you have people with that variant, that Andes variant, that means there's a chance that this could be spread from person to person. And you know how we handled COVID, all right? And that's still pretty fresh in our memory. So the fact that we fumbled COVID and that was like less lethal than this hantavirus or whatever, God, we're in for a fucking ride, especially with honestly with the administration that, this is going to happen under, just like with COVID.
Is this species?
Except we got good old RFK who likes to eat rats and do powdered stuff off of toilet seats. So that's going to be a fun time, but I digress.
That has been identified on the cruise ship. And so that's why they're starting to worry more and more about the potential for person-to-person spread on the cruise ship.
Health officials now suspect the first victim to contract the virus picked it up in Argentina before getting on the ship. In mid-March, he'd visited a landfill during a bird-watching tour, and officials suspect he contracted it from rodents. The captain announced.
That looks like a fun trip, though. I'm not gonna lie. Seeing all those little remote islands, and, getting to get a first-hand view of what's out there. I mean, a little bit off topic, but like, at least they got one hell of a journey out of it. But now we're all doomed.
Announces his death weeks ago, telling those on board the man was not infectious before anyone knew it was hantavirus.
This is my sad duty to inform you that one of our passengers sadly passed away last night. I'm told by the doctor we're not infectious. So the ship is safe when it comes to that.
But that man likely spread it to his wife, who also died. Rui Chenet was a passenger on the
double whammy
ship and says the cruise continued as normal.
Since we were not informed of any contagious disease, everyone was relaxed.
Medical teams are monitoring the nearly 150 people still on board, including 17 Americans, as they make their way to the Canary Islands in Spain. The State Department telling ABC News the Trump administration has no higher priority than the safety and security of Americans, and they are ready to assist any affected Americans.
Yeah, he's going to tell people to inject bleach just like he did with COVID. That's what's going to happen. Great. Just great. The funny part is some people are arguing that they shouldn't get off the ship and that they should stay on the ship. So take that as you will. I don't think anybody wants another COVID.
Is there going to be a hit?
Oh, yeah. So I wanted to show this one because apparently the odds of hantavirus going up, or the odds of hantavirus becoming a pandemic are going up on Kalshi.
Hantavirus pandemic. Polymarket currently says 11% chance in 2026. That's uncomfortably high, and it's double what it was yesterday, but still 89% chance now. In order to have a pandemic, I think you need 3 things.
That's pretty wild, but yeah, that's the only reason why I wanted to show this guy's video. But yeah, when the odds are going up on betting markets, that could be a bit of a problem. Now, I wouldn't trust betting markets like Polymarket or Kalshi like they're the gospel, because you can easily rig those, but it's still something to consider.
Someone who wasn't on the cruise ship has hantavirus now because they took a flight with someone who was on the cruise ship. That's not great.
There you go, the person-to-person transmission that we were talking about not too long ago.
At first, I kind of wrote hantavirus off as like, it's no big deal, whatever, it's going to be fine, it's not very transmissible. But the fact that someone just flying with someone who had hantavirus gave them hantavirus, I don't love it. Because the truth is, hantavirus is traditionally very difficult to transmit from person to person. It's usually through rodents, and if it is person to person, it's usually like super close human contact. Not like standing next to each other, but like super close human contact. So the fact that somebody who is just...
So basically, you got to be like touching bodies and like getting really intimate.
On a flight with somebody who had it, got it, unless they were, mile high in. It's not great, because from what I can gather, there's not a tremendous amount of research into how transmissible this is, what the R0 is. And the R0 is essentially, if you get infected, how many other people get infected because of you. From what I can find, the R0 is unknown. And the fact that this is transmitting in a way that people didn't think it would, it's not great. I don't think this is going to be another pandemic. It's not going to be anywhere near as transmissible as COVID, even if it is more transmissible than we thought. And the fact that they're contact tracing with the aggression level that they are right now, they'll very likely contain it. But the fact that we've gotten out of the World Health Organization and there's a lack of funding in this area, not phenomenal.
Yeah, just like I said, not the right administration for this to happen under. And the main difference between hantavirus and COVID was already handled pretty poorly, is that at least the U.S. was in the World Health Organization. So keep that in mind. And it was still a disaster. So with a more lethal virus, as well as the fact that we're not out of the World Health Organization, oof, God, I don't know. I want to be optimistic about this, but people were saying that hantavirus has been around for a while as well, right? But you got to remember that COVID was around before 2020. There was actually a person who made a song about the coronavirus in like 2013, okay? So it's been going on for at least a couple of decades. It just didn't become like this hot topic until 2020. So even though hantavirus has been around for a couple of decades already, it still doesn't change the fact that it could just pop up and spread, and we end up in lockdowns once again, similar to COVID. So you just got to watch out for that. Be locked in, guys. Be locked in.
The thing is, if this hantavirus...
And now she's going to elaborate even more on why it's even more dangerous than we think, because of the effects of pulling out of the World Health Organization.
Virus thing goes literally any further than the level it's already at, which unfortunately is looking increasingly likely. It is not going to be a redux of 2020. It is going to be scores worse than 2020. There is a cruise ship that contracted hantavirus from wildlife. And this is a strain that has a fatality rate of 40%. And if this does turn into an epidemic, we are in a terrible position to handle it. Because in March 2020, the United States was still in the WHO.
There you go.
As of January this year, that's no longer the case. Our Secretary of Health and Human Services is RFK Jr.
The guy who did, snow off of toilets. And he admit this too, so it's not even, an accusation. It's fact.
Let me remind you, public health funding has faced massive cuts since Trump got into office. That includes things like prevention research, contact training, understanding what this virus is, developing vaccines or any other sort of cures. All of that has had billions of dollars taken away. And I think that things like this really show the limits of the nation-state system when we are dealing with globalized capitalism. And this isn't even necessarily a leftist take, it's just common sense. You can't have global exploitation without global coordination. You cannot have the world's biggest economy that has its fucking fingers in every country on the planet and yet be isolating itself in terms of national public health or whatever. People like Trump are isolationists when it comes to protecting people and yet globalists when it comes to exploiting people. And that's not how that works. A disaster like this was bound to happen. I'm actually kind of shocked it didn't happen earlier.
Brace yourselves, people. Oh, so now let's make things a little lighter. Now we're gonna see some extreme solutions to extreme problems. So let's let this guy cook, as you can see from the title already. Blow up the cruise. Watch this.
Strictly speaking, for the best interest of humanity, we should have just blown up the entire Hantavirus cruise. Because think about it like this. This is just an advanced trolley problem, okay? Except the stakes are a lot higher, right? We're not sacrificing 5 people to save 1, right? We're more like sacrificing 200 people to save hundreds of thousands of people. Because think about it. This shit got a 40% mortality rate, right? And on top of that, if a global pandemic actually happened, it's ruining a lot more lives than the 200 that we'd potentially be saving. If it were up to me...
And I'm not even talking about like just the mortality rate, right? You're going to see economic hardship. So even amongst the survivors, they're going to be, a lot of them are going to be worse off than they were than before a pandemic if it were to happen, right? So it's not even about the lives, it's not just about the lives lost, it's about the aftermath. Just like we're still dealing with the aftermath of COVID and the COVID lockdowns, even though the lockdowns basically ended like 4 years ago, five in some states, but yeah, we're still dealing with the fallout of COVID today, even though lockdowns have been long over. So just imagine that. It's gonna delete like 200,000 people, but then it's also gonna like ruin the lives of like at least 40 million people at the same time. So this is not something that you want. But let's let this guy finish cooking.
I would send the cruise ship to Israel, right? And I don't care if you like or dislike Israel, but we could all admit there's only one country that would pull the trigger. And it would probably be Israel, so...
He's not wrong. I mean, Netanyahu's been quite the character lately. He likes his, we'll just say he likes to escalate things to the extreme. We'll go with that.
Keep them on...
And now here's another opinion about keeping them on the boat.
That fucking ship. I'm not...
Which I think is too late, because I think they're already off the ship. And some of those Hantavirus guys are now on U.S. soil.
Not having another global pandemic, bro. Don't get me wrong, I do feel bad and I do have sympathy for them, but the guy crying on camera, saying these are real stories and these are real people, yeah, there are 8 billion other people on the planet. We want to live! Mind you, this has a 40% death rate, and it's an airborne rodent disease. You know what else was? The fucking Black Plague. At least with...
He's not lying.
COVID, it had a low death rate, especially among non-vulnerable people, but this doesn't. Please, keep them on that ship for now.
And keep in mind, when COVID first started, people were saying that it was just from bats and if you were exposed to bats and whatnot, but that turned out to be even crazier because it was able to be transmitted from human to human. So don't downplay this by saying, oh, don't worry about it, it's just going to be a rat thing. No, we thought that with COVID, and look what happened, okay? And now we're going to see a statement from the guy that's on the cruise. And honestly, the comment section is kind of interesting. So after this, we're going to see the comments of this video because they're kind of conflicting in an entertaining way, which is what I try to serve, some entertainment.
Normally wouldn't make a video like this, but I feel like I need to say something, so I wrote a few things down. I am currently on board the MV Hondius, and what's happening right now is very real for all of us here.
You better stay in that room, boy.
We're not just a story. We're not just headlines. We're people. People with families, with lives, with...
People that spent $20K just to be on the cruise, but alright, chill.
People waiting for us at home. There's a lot of uncertainty, and that's the hardest part. All we want right now is to feel safe, to have clarity, and to get home. So if you're seeing coverage about this, just remember, that there are real people behind it, and that this isn't something happening somewhere far away. It's happening to us right now. I'll share more when I can, but for now, I just ask for your kindness and understanding.
So while I understand where this guy's coming from, it's important that there's headlines about this. What, do you just want this to be a secret? Do you want people to stop reporting about it because your fucking feelings are hurt? No, shut the fuck up, man, okay? This is a bigger thing than what you're trying to make it seem like right now, okay? It's important that we know the people and the headlines so that we're better informed about this hantavirus, so that we're not jumping into another pandemic, especially given the current administration, to be quite frank with you, right? And it's important that you just stay in that room right now and you chill. Yeah, is it shitty that you're going to be stranded on a boat for a couple of weeks, months or whatever? Or I don't even think that's the case anymore because they already let people off the fucking ship. But, you know, it would have been nice if you guys stayed on that boat for a few months, and they probably would have comped you too. They probably would have comped you. You probably would have had Wi-Fi or whatever so you could work from the boat. But, you know, you just want to cry and make it all about you. Maybe that's why some people aren't taking you seriously, because first of all, you spent $20K just to be on that boat, okay? Which most people can't even afford. So please stop with the crying, stop with the crocodile tears. You definitely have more than the average person, or maybe your parents are spoiled and they decided to take you on the trip or pay for your trip or whatever. But please stop with the tears. It's important that we know about this in any shape or form. But let's look at the comment section because he is getting absolutely cooked. How did they let 23 people off that boat? I'm sorry, but please air out your room. Stay safe and on that boat. It's airborne. I'm so sorry, but please don't dock. The fact that people don't have... So she's agreeing with him, but honestly, I want to have empathy for him. But, like, still, come on. Like, I understand he has family, but it's more important that he separates himself right now so he at least slows down the spread. Paid actor. Comments are concerning. Keep your head up and feet on board. I don't know why I'm getting this Japanese text over here. That's kind of weird. I feel bad for you, but stay on that damn boat. Bro, be like before, after, stay out. So basically, yeah, as you can see, the point I'm trying to make is that all these comments are telling him to stay on the ship. Like 85% of the comments telling him to stay on the ship. Anyways, next one.
A lot of people are...
But yeah, oh, this one's funny. So we're going to end this on a little bit of a more crazier yet funny note. But watch, this guy really gets into it, and why we could have had probably the worst possible administration to have this fall under.
Genuinely freaked out about the cruise ship. You know, the one with Hantavirus that's currently like stuck at sea in quarantine, and they don't know what to do with the people, but apparently somebody got on a plane at some point and they're trying to track it down, and it seems like this virus is now jumping from human to human, and everyone is panicked. But I want to remind everyone of something. This is the man who's in charge of disease now.
RFK, woo!
You're not freaked out enough. This is from Sunday. He just grabbed a bird at the airport. We're currently in a state where people are like, did someone get in contact with hantavirus, human-to-human transmission, and that takes a while to incubate and could be spreading it all over the place. We don't know where it is. Well, this dude is grabbing birds at the airport. This is from Sunday. This isn't from a while ago. This is a man who also regularly does not wear shoes on airplanes. He walks around barefoot on fucking airplanes. We don't know if the airplanes have fucking hantavirus. You're not scared enough. I'm just telling you this right now. I don't like to be the person who freaks people the fuck out, but if this guy's the fucking in charge, I'm freaking the fuck out. He sounds like he's been throat fucked by a demon. Look, I found a bird.
Yeah, he sounds raspy as hell.
And the hantavirus usually comes from mice, right? Guess who blends mice? Guess who puts mice in a blender? That's a thing he's done. He eats roadkill. He's a lunatic. We have diseases that are coming randomly from small varmints, and this guy is fucking ground zero for varmints, and he's in charge of everything. The CDC, our vaccine response, pandemics, the ideas around quarantine, all of that different stuff. We're not freaked out enough. We're not. They put this fucking Looney Tune in charge of everything.
I'm surprised he didn't talk about the raccoons, because he's talked about eating raccoons or biting off their heads or whatever, and God, with a health secretary like that, we're going to need all the luck. So Godspeed, guys. Catch you on the next one.